Hey friends, this is Rachel, the Water Fire Mama. This video is for anyone who is walking alongside someone who has just had the bottom drop out of their world or who has been on the high impact caregiver journey for a while and might be headed toward burnout. The people who surround these water fire walkers have the unique opportunity to throw out a lifeline to help them keep going when things get really tough. Today, we're going to talk about how to ask questions and listen in a way that conveys our sincere care for the high-impact caregivers in our lives. Welcome back. We're taking a little break from coaching the special needs parents and other high-impact caregivers so that we can talk to the people who support them. Extended family members, friends, coworkers, and church members are uniquely positioned to bring hope and encouragement to people when the bottom drops out of their world. Last time, we talked about some things we don't want to say in these situations because even with the best of intentions, we can come across as insensitive, ignorant, or preachy. Let's dive into some of the things you can say instead. First, the most important thing we can do as we're sitting with someone going through pain and hardship is listen. So much of the time, across contexts, we only listen to the person we're talking with just enough to formulate our own responses. We're so caught up in coming up with what to say that we don't really listen to the person across from us. Even though Dr. John Gottman, renowned marriage therapist and researcher, talks about listening within a marriage relationship, I think his principles apply particularly well to us when we're sitting with someone in crisis. Listening well means that we put our internal thoughts on hold temporarily and tune into what the other person is saying with their words and body language. Hear their pain and try to understand their world from their perspective, not yours. A lot of us can find it pretty uncomfortable to be with someone who is in crisis, and I think that's because we feel pressure to do something to stop their suffering or make it better. Believe me when I say, you have no responsibility to fix the situation, rationalize what's going on, or come up with just the right thing to do or say to make them feel better. So don't take that on. Your simple presence helps reassure them that they are not going through this storm alone. Throughout the encounter, we want to reflect what they say. This is extremely powerful because this simple action conveys that you have heard them and that you understand and care about what they're going through, as well as acknowledging the gravity of the situation. When we were in the hospital with our son Luke, with lots of medical terms being thrown around, a lot of times that looked like people repeating back what they heard us say verbatim, but it doesn't have to. It can also look like taking key bits and phrases that you've heard them say and spreading them through the questions you ask to better understand their world. I heard you say that she isn't sleeping very well. Are you getting any rest? Or, will they have a better idea of a treatment plan after the MRI on Thursday? As we reflect, we want to empathize. This means that we don't just understand what they are saying, but that we're connecting the dots and can understand what they are feeling underneath their words. Then we validate those feelings. Rather than telling them what to feel, it looks like holding space for them to feel their feelings and inviting them to tell you more if they want to. It must be so hard to wait for the results of that test. Or, that is so scary. Or, are you just exhausted? Be careful that you're doing more listening for how they feel than assuming you know how they feel. If you keep that in mind, your sincerity and kindness is going to shine through. Finally, we want to ask open-ended or deepening questions. Like the reflecting we talked about in the last segment, this helps the person we're talking with feel supported and understood. It also gives them space to open up and talk about what's weighing on them. Different questions will be more appropriate for different contexts, but use these to get your compassion muscles warmed up. You might ask, do you want to talk about that? You probably guessed that this question invites them to talk about what's going on in their mind, but doesn't pressure them if they don't feel like talking. What's the story for today? I know with our family, especially when Luke was in the hospital, we were living on a day-by-day, sometimes hour-by-hour basis. A lot of waterfire families have times when things are really tumultuous and stressful, but also times when things are pretty copacetic. Asking this question shows that you understand that the situation is fluid and probably different than it was the last time you talked with them. It also gives you the opportunity to comfort them if it's a bad day, or share in their joy if things happen to be going well for the time being. Why is this important to you? Or tell me what this means for you. This shows that you not only care about the situation in the moment, but you also care about how it's impacting them in the grand scheme of things. Understanding the connection between the patterns of the past, what's going on for them right now, and what they hope for the future improves the level of support you can give. What would help you the most right now? Someone in crisis may be so adrift that they may not know how to answer this question, but asking it prompts them to connect with their needs and verbalize them. Please don't feel like you must meet whatever need they express. If you're not able to help in a particular situation, it's fine to say something like, I'll keep that in mind and let you know if I think of someone who can help with that. How can I pray for you about this? Like the previous question, this one helps them get in touch with their desires for the situation. Knowing that someone is praying for them in a specific way can be really encouraging and help them feel that they're not alone. Follow that up with a text to let them know when you do pray for them. It reminds them that they are loved. Once again, conveying that you care and are cheering them on matters way more than the specific questions you ask. Have you discovered some great questions to ask or some tips to listen and reflect through your own work with these families? Post those in the comments so that we can all up-level our skills. In my next video, I'm going to talk about some specific practical things we can do to ease the burden and encourage the high-impact caregivers in our lives. Don't forget that I've left the link to get my free guide for caring for yourself in crisis in the description. It might come in handy later. And if you haven't subscribed to the Waterfire Mama channel yet, go ahead and do that right now. That means so much to me. Remember, our God goes before us and is our rear guard. He is going to carry us through these tough days. He's got you, and I'm here to help. I'll see you next time.